The US is destroying your future. From the moment you're born, you automatically sign a social contract, an unspoken agreement to submit to the government. This has been the norm for generations. In exchange for some of your natural freedoms, you receive benefits like money, public services, infrastructure, police protection, and overall stability. In America specifically, this contract promises the pursuit of happiness and prosperity. For many generations, this contract was one of the best in history. Americans prospered, becoming the richest and most free people in the world. The American dream made the entire world envious of America, as anyone, regardless of age, class, or race, could achieve success. They could buy a large house, have a beautiful lawn, raise a happy family, and enjoy a loving community. This was the path to true happiness. However, today, the picture is starkly different. For the first time in American history, younger generations are making less money than their parents did. They are also far less happy than their parents and grandparents. Studies consistently show that Americans today are deeply unhappy, and yet older generations remain among the happiest people in the world. Younger generations are also far less adjusted than any of their families' previous generations. Protests are everywhere. Universities are being desecrated. American flags are being ripped down, and patriotism is at an all-time low. The country is more divided than ever, with extremism rising on all fronts. People are rejecting the social contract with America, as younger generations do not own anything, living perpetually off subscriptions for food, housing, entertainment, games, gyms, cars, and credit card debts. Nothing is real or owned anymore. People exist as temporary facets in an increasingly artificial existence. Economic disparities and debt. The prosperity of the home-owning older generation is propped up by debt for future generations. We are meant to pass on our wealth to our descendants, not hoard it for ourselves, while only passing on debt. Credit card and overdraft debt have been normalized and even expected. Look at credit ratings. If you borrow and pay interest, credit companies are more likely to give you credit. But if you take a mature and sensible approach to your finances and live within your means, you have a credit rating of 0 and cannot borrow money or get a mortgage. In 2008, instead of nationalizing the banks, massive government bailouts were given, putting countries under the private control of banks. In other words, the US was sold off, leading to a changing America and Western world. Some may think it's good that America is changing, but change is only beneficial when it improves conditions. By all metrics, this is not the case. Many in the boomer generation point to the S&P 500 or industry graphs showing rising GDP levels. Yes, if you have assets and have been invested in the American markets for years, you might think America has never been so great and successful. But if you're a regular person or just finishing college, you won't see any of this. Wage growth over the last few years, compared to the S&P, is astronomically lower. Years ago, boomers had full-time jobs with reasonable wages. Your local postman could afford a nice house in a loving neighborhood. People were content with their income, which is why elderly poverty is now at the lowest levels in American history. Yet child poverty is at its highest levels ever. Education and social contract. If the economy is growing, why is public funding in schools failing so badly? Why is the younger generation suffering so much in America? In the digital age where personal information feels like public property, it's alarming to see how accessible our data is to predators and data brokers. Data brokers sell your information to anyone interested, scammers, spammers, you name it. Your full name, email, home address, health records, and even details about your relatives are out there. Protecting this information is crucial, and services like Aura can help. But this only scratches the surface of the broader issues. A young American today going through the state education system increasingly faces a future of becoming an Uber driver, renting rather than owning anything, yet being painfully aware of all the opportunities that exist for the wealthy, particularly their parents. Children of rich parents, rather than being spoiled, often work harder, knowing they can be rewarded with a bright future and a safety net. But for the average student, the future is a dull, low-paid job and a rented home in a neglected neighborhood plagued by drug issues and homelessness. Teachers, dramatically underpaid and underfunded, struggle to inspire students when they themselves are uninspired and unmotivated. Funding disparities in education. Public schools in the U.S. rely heavily on local property taxes for their operations, leading to significant disparities. Schools in affluent areas benefit from high property tax revenues, while schools in poorer areas struggle to make ends meet. Budget cuts and austerity measures have forced schools to operate with limited resources, resulting in large class sizes, staff layoffs, and cuts to arts and creative programs. The creative heart of America, which has inspired and shaped world culture, is being defunded. The U.S. has the power, wealth, and resources to improve the public school system and make life better for those at the poorest end of the social spectrum. Alleviating social problems at their source would ease the burden on schools. This is the nation that put man on the moon, leads in technological advancements, and is a pillar of freedom. Yet it still chooses not to invest adequately in its young people. As a result, underfunded public schools contribute to a worrying trend of anti-Americanism. Values and morals are changing, fostering resentment among both teachers and students. This is not education, it's indoctrination. Higher education and exclusivity. In universities, the situation is even worse. American flags are being torn down, and students are taught to hate their country, history, culture, and values. This radicalization, fueled by bleak economic prospects, deepens their frustrations. Students are divided, some becoming more radical, others more patriotic, while many reject the system altogether. Despite paying exorbitant tuition fees, they face a system designed to exclude them from top universities unless they have connections or wealth. This exclusivity perpetuates division across America, increasing the gap between the elite and the average citizen. Historically, unremarkable students had the chance to become remarkable. Today, applicants to Ivy League universities are expected to have near-perfect GPAs, and the cost of college education as a percentage of first-year income has nearly tripled since their parents' time. Higher education should be accessible to all willing to work hard, but it has become exclusive, favoring the wealthy and connected. Health and nutrition. Another critical issue is the health and nutrition of America's youth. Processed foods, high in sugars, fats, and artificial additives, alongside the widespread use of pesticides in agriculture, have long-term health effects on children and adolescents. Towns and cities are filled with fast food chains offering unhealthy options, while the FDA's food regulation standards allow foods that should not be consumed regularly, especially by the youth. Drinks and tap water containing harmful chemicals further deteriorate health. Fast, ultra-processed food constitutes a significant portion of the nation's food supply. The convenience and addictive nature of such food make it easy to fall into unhealthy eating habits. This impairs the nation's functionality and reduces the average citizen's ability to thrive. The U.S. military, for example, is missing its recruitment goals partly because many applicants are unfit for service due to drug use, mental health problems, and obesity. Historically, gluttony and overeating were reserved for the elite, but now the rich have access to healthy food while the rest of America consumes toxic slop. Social media and mental health. The rise of social media has also played a significant role in harming the mental health of young Americans. With over 91% of the U.S. population actively using social media, the impact is profound. Studies show a strong association between social media use and diminished cognitive abilities, lower intelligence levels, poor information processing, and lower levels of spatial perception. Platforms like TikTok, which are banned in countries like China and India, are particularly destructive, reducing attention spans and controlling the information diet of young Americans. Depression, anxiety, and other mental health issues are skyrocketing among younger people, exacerbated by social media. Foreign adversaries exploit these platforms to harm future generations of America. This passive acceptance of harmful practices underscores the need for robust social capital, inclusive communities, robust institutions, and common narratives. Consumerism and cultural values. Consumerism has also taken a toll on American society. George Carlin once described America as one big shopping mall where people mindlessly consume without adding value to their lives. This consumerist culture is facilitated by the ease of online shopping, where everything is available at the push of a button. The shift from quality to quantity, gamifying the process and making it as addictive as possible, has further entrenched this behavior. However, there is hope. As philosopher Hegel argued, each generation offers specific knowledge that can enhance society. By studying the eras of our great-grandfathers, we can identify what is missing and compensate for present blind spots. Traditional values like logic, hard work, discipline, a strong moral code, and faith will resurge when their absence creates a societal vacuum. The steps to building a great civilization are painful, but growth through these periods shows progress. Call to action. To change America's trajectory, we need to ban toxic chemicals in food, regulate phone usage in schools, moderate social media algorithms, and celebrate our history and culture in educational institutions. A general push to connect with society, incentivize community engagement, and invest in outdoor facilities can remind the youth what they are fighting for. Providing economic hope and prosperity in the face of a bleak economic outlook is crucial. Only by relieving these toxic pressures can America accelerate towards a brighter future. In conclusion, the issues facing America today are multifaceted and deeply rooted in systemic problems. By addressing economic disparities, funding education adequately, promoting healthy lifestyles, and fostering a sense of community and patriotism, we can create a better future for younger generations. It's time to recognize these challenges and work collectively towards meaningful change. The future of America depends on it.